Buenos, everyone. How's everyone doing? So, welcome to our session, Meeting Your New Teammates, AI Agents in Action. So, let's first start off with some introductions. So, my name is Tairi Delgado. Most of my friends and colleagues just call me T. You call me Tairi or T, whatever you prefer. I am an AI education leader with over 10 years of experience designing and scaling technical education programs that are relevant and accessible to large and small organizations alike to learn how to use AI effectively and ethically for digital transformations. Victor, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Victor Ramirez. I work as an AI architect at Moody's, where I focus on using and applying AI to real world, large scale problems. My background is in building and deploying AI agents in applications, and I'm very excited to share some of the practical ways that these tools are already transforming our workflow, our communities, and together with T, we'll bridge that foundation of real world apps, and hopefully you leave this workshop with a good understanding and inspiration.
Thank you, Victor. So, now with introductions out of the way, let's just go over some brief logistics. So, I'm going to cover the first half of this presentation going over how AI agents work. Afterwards, we'll take a brief 5-7 minute break to answer some questions that you might have. And then Victor will take over the second half to discuss real world examples and use cases of AI agents. Finally, we'll wrap up with a Q&A and an optional end of the session form survey for you to fill out. All right, so let's begin. So we're excited to share with you today how AI agents can become powerful tools in your professional journey. We're gathered here today not just to learn about some new AI technology or some buzzwords. We're here to learn and explore how AI agents can amplify your voices and help you make meaningful contributions in the tech industry. Think of this as your introduction to having your own personal digital assistant who never sleeps, never gets tired, and is always ready to help you tackle complex tasks. By the end of our time together, you'll understand what an AI agent is and how they can free up your time for work that truly matters, providing mentorship, creativity, and building our communities. En comunidad. So, why does this all matter to us? When we learn about AI together as community, we ensure these tools serve our needs and reflect our perspectives and values. Our diverse experiences as Latino professionals helps us bring in unique perspectives and insights for how AI should work for everyone, from understanding bilingual context to addressing equity concerns. By building expertise in AI collectively, we're not just adapting to change, we're helping to shape it to benefit our communities. This isn't about replacing human connections. It's about freeing ourselves from repetitive tasks so we can focus on mentorship, innovation, and lifting each other up to solve real world problems. Together, we can ensure AI agents become tools of empowerment rather than exclusion. So now the question naturally arises, what exactly are AI agents? Well, let's clarify something important. AI agents are not the same as your chatbots you might be familiar with. While chatbots simply respond to questions based off of the training and internal documentation, AI agents autonomously plan multi-step strategies and execute upon them. Think of it this way. A chatbot might tell you how to book a flight, but an AI agent can actually search for flights, compare prices, check your calendar, and present you with complete option plans. Real-world examples include customer support systems that don't just answer questions, but actually process returns. Or perhaps even a personal assistant that handles your entire travel plans from start to finish. The key difference is that agents are proactive problem solvers, not just reactive question answering systems. But this isn't just science fiction. AI agents are actually already here. Let me walk you through how an AI agent actually works when you give it a task. First, you provide it some input. Maybe you plan a team retreat or are researching competitors in your market. First, you start off by giving a problem, and then it tries to understand the problem and make observations. The agent then enters its reasoning or thinking mode, breaking down your request into logical steps and planning its approach. Next, it might use various tools such as APIs, otherwise known as application programming interfaces, a way of essentially programs to communicate with each other to gather information. And then it could use this information to make calculations or interact with other systems and make observations from those results. After performing a series of actions, reflections, and observations, it could finally deliver a complete solution, not just information, but actionable results you could use immediately. This entire process happens autonomously. You set the goals, and the agent figures out how to achieve it. So if this sounds a little fuzzy, let's go into this in more detail. Let's actually discuss the anatomy of an agent. That is, its internal components to help you get a better sense of how it processes your request. Every effective AI agent has essentially 4 different components working together, just like a well-functioning team. You have the brain, which is basically what's called a large language model that processes your requests and generates intelligent responses. You have the planner, which acts like a project manager, breaking down complex goals into manageable steps and deciding what to do next. Tools and APIs are the agent's hands, which allow it to actually interact with external systems, searching the web or maybe accessing some database. Memory serves as the agent's long-term memory base, remembering your preferences and learning from previous interactions to serve you better over time. So let's walk into these components just a little bit deeper. Let's first discuss the large language model brain, otherwise known as LLM for short. The large language model is essentially the agent's intelligence center. It processes human tasks and requests. Think of, for instance, models like OpenAI's ChatGPT, Anthropic's Claude, or Google Gemini. Large language models are essentially trained from what's called deep neural networks, which are large statistical models trained from historical records such as books, websites, and news articles to learn human language and context. They take a sequence of words and learn to predict the next best sequence of words based off of the context and the request given. You could kind of think of these large language models as advanced autocompleters with some limited fuzzy database knowledge capabilities. They enable the agent to comprehend context, nuance, and even implied meaning from your requests. This brain component allows agents to reason through problems logically, considering multiple factors and potential solutions. What makes these tools powerful for our community is that these modern large language models understand cultural context and work effectively across different languages. You could think of it kind of as a multilingual colleague who not only understands what you're asking, but can think through the best approach to solve whatever request or task that you give it. Next, we have the planner. The planner is your agent's strategic thinking component. It transforms your high-level goals into concrete action plans. Without a planner, the AI agent or large language model would act immediately upon the request given, but might not fully think through what might be the optimal plan or idea or the best approach to complete the task. When you ask for something complex, the planner is the first to analyze and break down that task, and does so by attempting to break it down to smaller, manageable subtasks that can be executed step by step. It decides when to perform an action, which tools to use, and what sequence, orchestrating the entire workflow like a skilled project manager. Importantly, the planner can adapt and refine its approach based off of the results of each step, learning from success and failures. This component is what allows agents to handle tasks that would normally require human oversight and decision making. Now let's discuss tools and APIs. Again, APIs just stand for application programming interfaces. It's just a way for programs to communicate with one system with another. These are the components that transform agents from purely conversational to actionable agents in the real world. They are what gives them their hands and feet, so to speak. For example, a web browsing tool lets agents search for current information, access databases, or gather real-time data. App API capabilities mean agents can work with other systems so they could send emails, update calendars, or work within project management tools on your behalf. External service integrations connect agents to weather data, financial information, maps, and countless other specialized services. This is essentially where all the magic happens. Agents can actually do things by calling other programs and systems. They're not just talking to you about what you should do. Finally, we have memory. Memory is what transforms a one-time interactive tool into a persistent digital teammate. Without this persistent memory, agents would have very short memory spans. Think of, for instance, the character Dory from the movie Finding Nemo. She could only remember a conversation within 30 seconds and then she'll forget it. Now, memory can be broken down into several distinct parts. We have short-term memory, long-term memory, and associative memory. So short-term memory gives an agent the ability to track your current conversation and tasks, ensuring responses remain relevant and coherent. Long-term knowledge, on the other hand, gives agents the ability to store preferences, past projects, historical interactions to provide increasingly personalized assistance. And then we have associated memory for adaptive learning. This gives the ability for agents to fine-tune and adapt their model parameters based off of your feedback to help the agent provide even more personalized recommendations and results. All this creates a compound benefit. The longer you use an AI agent, the more valuable it becomes to your specific workflows. So this pretty much wraps up our high-level overview of internal anatomies of AI agents. Before we move on, we'll take a 7-minute break to take some questions before my colleague Victor will discuss AI agents in real-world settings and use cases. Thank you. So let's take a look at this. Any questions that people might have. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat or the Q&A, but Q&A might be a better place.
T, I'm sharing my screen. Maybe you could stop sharing yours.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Does anybody have any questions for the next 5 minutes on the anatomy or internal applications of AI agents so far?
There is a question in the Q&A.
Okay, let me check that out. So my work is exploring N or other tools for automation in AI. Do you have tips on where to get started learning security topics? So Victor's actually going to discuss the security aspects in a little bit more detail. So I don't know, Victor, do you want to take that or?
Sure, I can take it. There's definitely a section, we'll talk a little bit more in detail, but we have some guidance on some guardrails that you can put in place. This is a very dynamic space and industry. A lot of things are changing daily almost, as some of these language model providers are producing new models daily, and new players are coming into the scene. So we'll talk about some of the guardrails that you can think about putting in place so that you're not exposed. But we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, I think as just a little add-on, not to add too much, but yeah, you want to check for some benchmarks that deal with security and specifically. There's plenty of benchmarks right now and regarding a whole bunch of different capabilities of AI agents. But I think one thing that's still in the early stages is like benchmarks on security aspects. You also want to, again, Victor will talk about this in more detail, but like you want to look into like things like prompt injections and things like that. Yeah. So let me see. I'm just going to check to see if there's any other questions so far.
I think there's one other one.
So
Oh yeah, Alex, I see that one. Yeah, so I am in the fintech space. We do use certain tools. Salesforce is definitely one of the ones we've started to tap into ServiceNow. It really depends on where your data sources are. That's one of the challenges that we have, right? We have so many vendors. Our data, we have a lot of data spread out over many systems. So we don't really choose one. We do a multi data source solution. So we will pull information not only from Salesforce, not only from ServiceNow, but it may be other either CRM or ERM tools that we use, or even our own data. So we try a layered approach on the data.
okay, so best AI tool for scraping if you have experience. So I don't personally have much experience scraping for AI tools, but can you elaborate, Anthony, what you mean by scraping? I'm assuming that you mean web scraping to train AI, but I'm not exactly entirely certain what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, I think he means web scraping.
Yeah,
Are you keeping track of time? I want to make sure we don't go over.
yeah. I'll just spend one more minute and then I'll
Sure.
let you go on. Yeah, so I don't personally deal with web scraping, but I think I yeah, I'm not straight of mind. I don't have a particular framework, but I could look for something on your behalf.
Yeah, that's a real big common problem, right? Scraping is not a new challenge.
Yeah,
Some of the I know Google has some APIs you can use. They're probably the best at indexing the internet, right? So that's their bread and butter. I would look at maybe their API and see how well you can use that or try that. Um, Also scraping, right? Not or most websites, don't like it when you do that, right? You'll get blocked, or they'll have a robot.txt file in place saying, please don't scrape me.
yeah,
So it's just maybe commercial APIs. You can start looking at that. If not, maybe we can look, like T
yeah.
said, look into other solutions.
Yeah, you want to be mindful of like what you're scraping because there might be intellectual property components. Maybe somebody might not want their data trained. So yeah, you want to definitely look into that a little bit more. So I'm just gonna read one more question and then we'll move on, and then whatever questions we haven't answered, we'll try to address later on. So low code or no code tools or APIs for first time tries in creating AI agents. Thanks. So you could look into Lovable. There's if you're I'm blanking on some of the other tools right now, but
Replit,
basically
Lovable.
Lovable is a low code framework in which you could describe the tool, the app that you want to build, and then it will go ahead and create you like a first draft framework for how that application might work. So I would take a look into that. I could post some other ones later on. Yeah. So I think just for the sake of time, uh, I'm just gonna let Victor take the rest of this, and then I'll look for some of those resources and post them on the chat.
Sure, sure. Thanks, T. So let's kind of take a look. So T kind of gave us a good background on kind of the components, pieces of these AI agents. Let's see how the flow, how an AI agent would orchestrate all this on a complex task. We'll take planning a trip to Mexico City. So here you'll see all the components working together, and we'll go through in a simplified fashion too. But imagine you're asking an AI agent to plan a trip to Mexico City. So that That right there requires and involves multiple complex decision points, as you can see on the graph, and research tasks. So the agent will start by understanding your constraints, whether they're dates, budget, preference, accommodations, activities that you're interested in, using the tools, using its internal knowledge. And then it will simultaneously search for these flights, for weather reports, for neighborhoods, identify attractions that match your interest. And then finally, it presents a complete itinerary, which would include flights, hotels, restaurants, recommendations, a day by day activity plan, and all personalized to your budget and your needs. And all this happens seamlessly without you having to micromanage the agent. So, this kind of shows you how it can take complex tasks and turn them into actionable goals. But building agents requires frameworks and libraries. And this requires an entire ecosystem of tools and technologies that work together seamlessly. We talked about large language models like GPT-4, Gemini, Claude. All those provide that core intelligence, allowing it to understand language, capabilities, and power the brain of the agent. The hands that we talked about are external tools and APIs, giving the agent the ability to interact with real world technology and real world systems. Think of search engines, databases, or any specialized tools that it might need. And we also have orchestration frameworks. And this is maybe if you're trying to get into more of building this into a more technical developer focused role. Some of the frameworks that you might be interested in or need to know about would be LangChain, Crew AI. What these frameworks provide is the structure and the logic that we were kind of seeing on that workflow to allow all these components to work together and effectively. And also memory, like we were talking, there's different stages of memory and data sources, but this will ensure that the agent can maintain context, that it can learn from the interactions over time. And again, the beauty is that all these building blocks are increasingly accessible to developers at all skill levels. We've already had some questions about some tools and things that they can use for portfolios or for resumes, and we'll kind of chat a little bit about that as well. But it's the combination of all of these, the large language models, the orchestration framework, the tools, the memory. All this is what changes a chatbot and transforms it into a capable agent. So again, at a high level, we'll walk through. We saw the details of the flow of what the AI agent does, but from a user's perspective, this is kind of what a demo would look like, right? Step one, you're gonna tell the agent or give it your requirements so that it can understand my travel dates, my budgets, my constraints and preferences for activities. And then under the hood, how we saw in that detailed flow, it'll simultaneously call APIs to search for flights, search for hotels to book, search for weather services, and then local attraction databases. And then at the end, large language models and agents, they're very good at synthesizing all this information into a comprehensive itinerary and then comparing options and making recommendations based on your specific criteria. So this entire process can take minutes instead of hours of someone having to go out and search Kayak and search TripAdvisor and search Viator. The AI agents will do this on your behalf in a much more efficient time process so that you can maybe spend your time on the details and coordination and not that initial data gathering section or piece that you would take. So the results sometimes will not be just informational, but a complete actionable travel plan that you can take on and then book. So now, T, I don't know if you can do this second poll, this other poll, but what we'd like to do is hear from you. So you've heard from us, but we want to know what repetitive tasks in your daily work or life would you love to hand off to an AI agent? Think about things that are very time consuming that pull you away from, creative, strategic, or relationship building activities that you'd want to focus on. Maybe it's researching for a presentation or scheduling and coordinating across time zones or summarizing long documents and meeting notes. There's already a lot of tools in that, but start thinking about that, or perhaps market research for maybe a side project. What can help you with social media presence or organizing learning resources? So these are a lot of these ideas that we'd like you to do. Start kind of thinking through what are these high value activities you'd like to do, and maybe shift some of these lower time consuming, tedious, repetitive tasks to AI agents. So we'll give you guys a couple of minutes for that. In the meantime, I'm going to just quickly look at some of these other questions. Local. Let's see. So yeah, start thinking about that. Let's see if we can see some results. So these are some great results we're seeing. Scheduling and admin tasks. Yeah, it'd be great if we all had our own personal little admin assistants. Research and data gathering. That's something that AI agents are great for. Going out, we were talking about web scraping and data gathering already. Customer support. A lot of people are trying to roll that out. Or student support. We'll kind of talk about some of these use cases in a little bit too. Uh, about student support, education support, and also community building and outreach. So I think in interest of time, yeah, please keep, we'll kind of look at the polls once we're done as well, and then we can kind of talk through some of that. But in interest of time, I'll kind of keep going. So now that we've kind of heard and seen in the poll some of your activities, um, this is, like T was saying, this is not science fiction. What I'd like to stress is that AI agents are already transforming and disrupting how we work and get things done across many industries. I see it in the finance world. I'm sure T sees it in the education world. So applications are already exciting for our community. And like we said, some of the poll answers already kind of touch on this. Customer support agents, agents that can resolve the complete task and maybe not just provide canned answers and not just answer one-off questions, but complete the process. If it's a return process or updating my account or escalating, these are AI agents can do more for you instead of just simple repetitive tasks. Personal assistants, we kind of talked about that and saw that in the poll, right? It'd be great if everyone had their own personal assistant agent to help you manage your entire workflow or manage your inbox or help scheduling meetings or take these meeting notes and give you actionable items and even conduct preliminary research of the data gathering for a project. Market research assistants, maybe the AI agents can use to track industry trends or analyze what a competitor is doing. Also drive some insights into this information to help you form business strategies. A kind of a real world example I've seen at work is some of my colleagues, because we're a global corporation, some English is not their native language. So sometimes they struggle even in maybe reviewing meeting notes or authoring email. AI agents are things that they're using in a very creative way where they use the AI agents to help them leverage that LLM brain and then help them translate from either their native tongue to English or vice versa in a seamless fashion. So that's a very creative way that I'm a real world example of where I'm seeing AI agents work in action, and that will help us, with in our community as well, uh, to enable and empower people. So, like I said, these are not experimental use cases. These are being developed now and deployed now by companies and individuals. So we want to focus on repetitive tasks so that people can focus on high value work. So how can these be used for community engagement and agents for us? So the most exciting applications are, where can we strengthen community? We saw that in the poll, right? How can we empower our community? And where can we see opportunities to create growth? Uh, a good example would be for mentorship and learning, agents that can create personalized development paths or match use people with mentors and mentees and vice versa based on some specific criteria, or provide on-demand access to resources. In diversity, equity, and inclusion, that's something that under this political climate is being attacked. So how can we roll out AI agents to help either detect bias in communication, or offer inclusive language, or automate some admin tasks and support D&I initiatives as resources are becoming scarce? And for the small business or for the entrepreneurial, how can AI agents help you with market research, draft business plans, or handle routine automated admin tasks and allow you to focus on creative problem solving with direct impact? So, when to deploy AI agents? So, we've seen use cases, we've seen ideas. So, it's crucial to understand when AI agents are the right tools and when human judgment or the human in the loop still remains essential. So, like we've said, deploying agents where the tasks are repetitive, they're rule based, where the steps are clear, and then the end output or exit criteria for success is well defined. They excel at data intensive analysis or synthesizing of data, handling large amounts of information. All that is extremely useful for an AI agent work use case. Um, and that would be a little harder for humans to do. And then routine workflows is another sweet spot where AI agents can manage multiple steps, and then they don't require creative decision making. However, when should we not be deploying these AI agents? AI agents, I feel, are not the right solution when something requires deep empathy or complex ethical judgment, and where the stakes are very high, without human oversight. We still need to keep the human in the loop. So these are where that human capacity is still required, and human wisdom is required. Think of maybe in the legal field or medical field or even finance, where maybe some decisions that will hurt um, are probably not the best. And at work, what we do is we have a steering committee, or we'll have lists that we follow, and there's also some compliance and regulation involved, so where these AI agents can and can't be deployed. So someone was asking about security and guardrails. How can we manage this risk? So as we embrace AI agents, we also have to be aware that there are security challenges, and how do we mitigate them? One of the best ways is always use a trusted, verified AI model from a reputable provider. We prioritize that will prioritize security and safety in the development process. So be aware of prompt injection. Don't Sometimes there could be malicious users that will try to overwrite the agent's instructions and make it behave inappropriately. Also, implement strong data validation for both input and outputs. This will ensure that the agent is processing the data reliably and that the information that it's producing is accurate. And that also goes well into some of the evaluation frameworks that are out there that people are also using. And then apply the principles of least privilege and restrict what the agent has access to, only the bare tools and data that it absolutely needs for that task. So these are all precautions that will help build, responsible AI and enhance our workplace without introducing unnecessary risks. So guardrails, in short, are not optional, they're crucial. So safe AI is effective AI. And I just talk a little bit about the trusted model. And this is, think about when you download some software and you install it on your computer. That's a good analogy of what we're talking about when we say use trusted models. You wouldn't download, software that you don't know who's produced or who's validated, because you could, you'll get a virus. Models are also, there is marketplaces out there where you can download and use models either locally or build on top of them yourself. And that's where we mean where, use some of these trusted providers that have security guardrails in place. So let's give you some concrete ways to start thinking about how these AI agents are implemented in work and community. Definitely, again, start by the repetitive tasks like scheduling, data entry, routine communication, and then consider creative agents. Maybe you have some data sources that only you have access to. That's a perfect case where you can maybe create an AI knowledge agent and deploy that for your teams to use or your enterprise to use. And then build custom workflows for your specific needs. Everyone's needs and industries are a little different, so agents can be tailored to your industry, to your role, and even to your personal productivity. So one thing I did want you to remember is that the AI agents aren't here, and the goal isn't to replace human judgment and creativity, but it's to free you up for use your unique perspectives on higher value work. So again, we had this in the poll question also, how can someone get started? So one of the most exciting things is that building and using AI agents is very accessible, regardless of your background, right? We already talked about no code, low code. That's one thing that T and I kind of did a few months ago. We did kind of host with Dev Mission and Techqueria an AI vibe coding session. So what was that? That's where we took a wide range of individuals, kind of got them started on tools like Lovable, Replit, or AI coding assistants, based on what their background was, what they wanted to build. It went extremely well because we helped whether they were a small business user or a student or someone trying to transition into tech. And we showed them how to use these tools and how to build. So at the end of our session, there were quite a few, working POC, MVP products that these people have built, all with various backgrounds. But it was empowering to see that we sparked a little curiosity in them, and they were able to build a modern or a working rapid prototype that they could kind of take to the next level. So these modern agent building tools are prioritizing intuitive design, right? We can prompt these things, and they're very user friendly, and they don't require complex coding, much like we saw in our workshop earlier. So there are also guided workflows and template approaches. A lot of these templates are out there to help you, give you even more immediate results while still learning concepts, but everything through hands-on experience. And then our community, how can we provide our community incredible support for learning new technologies together, and we can leverage this collective knowledge as we explore AI agents together. So the barrier to entry has definitely been lowered, not by only the large language models and AI agents, but also a lot of these tools that we can hopefully we can use for potential and enormous impact. So AI agents, just to recap, they're our teammates, not our replacements. They're our collaborators, right? They can extend our capabilities, and they won't replace our creativity, our judgment, and our leadership. And let's focus on impact. How can we handle, offload routines that are repetitive and free us for higher value work? And then community guided success. How can this success can be from designing agents for en comunidad and guide us through our shared values and needs. So in short, they can be collaborators for us, the AI agents, and then again, help us focus on community connection and empower the community. As we've seen, though, T and I had, quite a few discussions about this. We didn't want to paint this rosy picture because AI and AI agents are disrupting industries already. And one place we're seeing is some of these repetitive or entry level, junior level opportunities are kind of being disrupted by AI agents and AI um, in whole. So it's something where we want to help community members and people if you're trying to break in. Although the industry is being disrupted, you're still not shut out. I think, with T and I, if that's a question, we can kind of field that off later. But there are tips and tricks and things that you can do to kind of distinguish yourself, not only when you're going to be, there's other candidates that are in the pool, but also some of these automation agents in the pool. So as we wrap up, the key message is, let's experiment, let's share, let's build in comunidad. We've seen what AI agents are, how they work, and why they matter for our community. We'll also be providing some resources, like we were talking, some of these frameworks, whether they're LangChain, Crew AI. There is documentation we can provide, even if for the developer focus for AI, OpenAI, and some of their development guides, or some of these low code, no code tools, so that you can get your hands on them and start playing with them. And finally, you can please stay connected with us on Slack and LinkedIn. We're here as a community to help you experiment, get you support, continue building together. And the initiative is simple, just dive in, start collaborating, helping us grow this community of AI builders. So yes, thank you everyone. Thank you for your time, your attention. Now we'll kind of open it up for some more questions from the audience. We can kind of go through some of the other questions that have been provided. And T and I have kind of put our kind of our LinkedIn if you want to connect with us as well. T, anything else you wanted to kind of add?
Yeah, thanks, Victor, for giving that great presentation at the end. I think that was pretty useful for a lot of people. Just a quick follow-up. So for a lot of the individuals that actually have a developer background that are more interested in coding their agents from the ground up, I have provided some links to some frameworks that allow you to do that. So, for instance, Llama Index and LangChain are good orchestration frameworks, open source, free open source frameworks for those that want to do some kind of orchestrations. And they provide some lower level agent capabilities. And then, there's AutoGen and Crew AI for those that want more higher level kind of agents. And then I provided some what are called vector databases. So Pinecone, Chroma, Deep Quadrant. Those are open source frameworks as well. So we didn't go into too much detail because that's not the focus of this workshop. But vector databases are basically the kind of databases that AI agents use in order to pull information from documents and able to use that information to answer questions or to make decisions. So, as Victor said earlier, follow up with us later on if you have a specific no code or low code or specific industry kind of things. Let us know, and then we could try to provide you resources there.
Yeah, and I think just quick, the two tools we use at the Vibing Code Shop were Lovable and Replit, REPLET. Those are two kind of low code, no code tools to help you get started. You can kind of just check those out. I don't know if we want to go through the questions, T. I haven't been. Let's take a look.
So try to answer most of them, but let me see. Great presentation. Is there a resource to see what's already out there to learn and create something unique that's not out in the market? Fred, can you elaborate a little bit on what kind of problem you're trying to achieve? That way we get a better sense of how to address your question better. Because some frameworks and some tools out there are more for developers. Other ones are going to be for people that, no code kind of thing. And it also kind of depends on what kind of problem you're trying to address and what market.
For Alex, I saw that some people, he's asking about adopting AI and AI agents. Some companies going to Accenture, to force adoption.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I can just speak about the experience that we're seeing at my company is we do have, it's by use case, by use case, by analysis of what clients want and need, as well as where it makes sense. Kind of talking about repetitive tasks or things where we can kind of deploy these agents in a safe and secure manner. But it's really, I think, it'll be very industry specific and company specific. There's not, certain companies I've seen do an AI steering committee, or opening it up for AI ideas and then kind of having someone go through, but not. I mean, I've heard of other companies trying to do a heavy-handed approach where you must use this, you must use that, but I've seen heavy-handed approaches and those don't normally work. It just kind of has the opposite effect. So just being use case by use case and very strategic into where you want to deploy them and how.
Just kind of add to what Victor's saying. So, as somebody that's been teaching AI for a long time, one of the first things I tell people that are interested in applying AI for their businesses or use cases is first focus on the problem before you consider implementing a solution, right? So you want to be very clear and intentional about what specific problem you're trying to address and who you're trying to address it for, right? And so once you have that, then you can understand what the value proposition is and then develop a solution from that, right? Otherwise, you end up over engineering a solution that nobody wants or needs, and you're creating more problems than you actually solve.
I guess the next one from Ariel is barriers into existing when AI agents for third party. GPT usually fails because they don't have access to log into these platforms themselves. And I guess there's a few different ways to do that. And I said, I'll be honest, the industry's changing so much, but there's techniques you can use for kind of using some of the frameworks we talked about, and building databases, or maybe indexing your own data. If it's data that you own, you can layer your own data on top of some of these AI tools so that it can understand, and search and retrieve the answers from your information. There's also this space is moving very rapidly. There's also things called the model context protocol, where you can layer in and make some of either your APIs or your data accessible and discoverable to some of these AI agents on their own. And then they can tap into, if Meta has a model context protocol agent, then your agent can discover that one and then retrieve information from Meta marketing ads. Maybe, I don't even know if that exists, but I'm just kind of talking you through how this space is moving so fast. So there are techniques and ways that you can implement now to alleviate some of that. Oh, it doesn't. It only knows what it knows, right? It can't freely search out maybe
Yeah.
some proprietary information.
So I just want to provide a little bit of context. So the MCP, or the Model Context Protocol, is it's an API protocol for developers. So basically, if you didn't have it, you would have to manually create an API, a way to connect and communicate your agent with all these different applications individually, right? But you can imagine if you're creating a sophisticated agent that has to connect with 5 or 6 different APIs, and they all have their own very specific communication protocols. That could be very overwhelming and taxing over time, right? Trying to update and maintain all these different channels. So this is what the Model Context Protocol developed by Anthropic is trying to achieve. So essentially, it's kind of like a middleman between you and third-party platforms. So you can connect with the MCP and just tell it who you want to connect to, and providing the right credentials, it will abstract away like how to communicate with, I don't know specifically Facebook in particular, but you can imagine like whatever third party platform you're trying to address, if they create an API with the MCP, you only have to connect with the Model Context Protocol. You don't have to create a specific API for that third party application. I hope that kind of clears things up for everybody. I posted a link on the chat for everybody to look at if you're interested.
And that's fairly new, right? I think that's only been around for what, a year, maybe less. So, like I said, this space is moving so fast. It's sometimes hard to keep up. I guess we can keep going. There's a couple more questions.
Let's just take maybe one more minute before, because we got 3 more minutes before our chat ends. Also, what was I gonna say? Oh, just don't mind me. Just check one more question while I provide the forum link.
Oh yes, yes. Maybe you can kind of give a quick little update on what that is.
Yeah. So basically, we just want to get a sense of how everybody felt about the workshop and ways we can improve, so we can make future workshops more relevant and impactful for you. And likewise, we want to continue the conversation so that we could better address needs and services of our community. So if there's something specific, maybe I should also mention that me and Victor have done some workshops for individuals that are just trying to get used to AI and prompt engineering. But likewise, also for business purposes, if you feel like you need training or you need to learn a little bit more, we also, I have a business dealing with that. But for the most part, we just want to get a sense of, how we could better serve you. So if you have the time and energy in the last couple of minutes, we'll love your feedback. So I just posted a link to a Google forum. So if you have the time, that's interesting. Okay, let me check it really quick.
All right. Yeah, Alex, I guess I'll take one last one before we leave. Alex is talking about AI agents at Moody's, and we have strategic partnerships with a lot of the big vendors, OpenAI, Microsoft, AWS, and we are building AI agent solutions, whether they're GenAI, not to the point where, like I said, we allow them to do things on your behalf. Especially in the finance world, there's regulations and laws, but we do use them to, maybe review some of the published data that we have. A typical question could be, what's Moody's view on Ford Motor Company in respects to tariffs, or we can look at industry level specific information. But we are, and definitely if you go to our website, there's, I think one of the biggest tools we have is the Moody's Research Assistant. That's something that, I kind of briefly worked on with the team, probably a couple of years ago to get that up and running. But we are, and like I said, it's moving so fast. It's kind of exciting if you're in the industry.
So I think I'm not sure why it changed, because I thought I set to be for everybody, but I just reset it. Let me know if it works for everybody. If not, I'll keep checking it. But
and I think we'll go through the rest of the QAs, and I don't know what, maybe we'll reach out to I know there's some that we didn't get to. We can try to answer and get back to you. Awesome. And you, like you said, you can connect with us and reach out, please.
Yeah, thank you everyone for attending our workshop. We hope you've learned a lot. Let's continue on the conversation. Feel free to reach out to me or Victor on LinkedIn or our contact information. If you would like to reach out to me personally, you could reach out to my email that I just posted on chat. My website is going through a little bit of a modification, so.
We're both pretty active in Slack as well, the Techqueria Slack channel, so you can always find us there as well.
Yeah, so Techqueria has an AI Slack channel, so you can also connect with me and Victor there.